The sun was a soft amber over the floating city of Velith, casting long shadows on the glassy surfaces of towers that hovered effortlessly above the ground. Ethan stepped lightly onto the broad bridge connecting two platforms. He had never seen anything like this before. Cities that floated above the clouds, creatures that shimmered like liquid light, and plants that glowed with an inner energy. As a human, he was aware of how rare his kind was on this planet, and every step he took carried the cautious curiosity of someone exploring the unknown. The mission had been simple on paper: deliver messages of peace and friendship between humans and the alien kingdom. But reality was far more complex. The alien leaders, with their elegant forms and piercing eyes, always watched, always judged. Ethan was aware that one wrong move could mean disaster. He paused, listening to the hum of energy flowing through the city. The faint buzz of levitating vehicles and the soft whispers of alien voices created a rhythm that was both unsettling and mesmerizing. His gaze drifted to the edge of the platform, where a glimmer of movement caught his attention. Something or someone was approaching. Liara, Princess Liara, heir to the alien throne, moved with the grace of a creature born to command. Her skin was pale and luminescent, reflecting the golden light of the sun. Her eyes, a deep violet, scanned the horizon carefully. She had always been cautious around humans, aware of their unpredictability. Yet something about this human's presence immediately stopped her. She froze in place, her body stiffening as a scent she had not encountered in years washed over her. It was unmistakable. Liara's mind flashed back decades to her childhood, to a memory she had tried hard to forget. A rebellion had broken out in her city then. Chaos and fire everywhere. She had been cornered, terrified, when a human had appeared seemingly out of nowhere, fighting off attackers with courage she had never seen. That human had saved her life. And now, years later, she recognized the scent, faint but undeniable. Ethan, unaware of the effect he had caused, took a careful step closer. The restricted area he had wandered into was not meant for outsiders, yet curiosity had led him here. His heart beat faster, not from fear of the city, but from the thrill of discovery. He was a human, and humans thrived on moments like this, moments where danger and wonder intersected. The guards arrived, their tall frames blocking the way, and Ethan instinctively raised his hands in a peaceful gesture. Liara, still frozen, observed silently. The guards' voices were sharp and commanding, speaking a language Ethan only partially understood, yet their anger was clear. "She does not want you here," one of them said, motioning him back. Ethan nodded, though he did not understand all the words. His mind worked quickly, as it always did. He could retreat, but he had a feeling he was meant to stay. He could feel the weight of the princess's gaze even without her speaking. Liara finally moved, stepping between Ethan and the guards. Her voice was calm but firm, the authority of royalty clear in every word. "He is no threat." The guards hesitated, exchanging uncertain glances. To contradict her would be unthinkable. Slowly they stepped aside, leaving Ethan standing in the middle of the platform, bewildered but unharmed. Liara studied him carefully. She had expected fear or perhaps arrogance. Instead, she saw calm intelligence in his eyes. And with that, a spark of recognition. The human before her was the one who had saved her all those years ago. She could remember the way he had moved, how he had faced danger without hesitation, and now, standing before her, he carried the same energy, the same courage. Ethan, sensing her attention, finally spoke, his voice steady. "I mean no harm. I am here on a mission of peace." Liara inclined her head slightly, considering his words. She felt a strange pull toward him, a mixture of curiosity and something older, deeper, a memory of trust and gratitude that had never faded. "You must come with me," she said finally, her tone leaving no room for argument. "It is not safe for you here." Ethan followed her without question, and they moved through the city, Liara leading with grace and purpose. As they passed, alien citizens glanced at the human, whispering to each other. Humans were rare, and seeing one walking beside the princess was almost unheard of. As they walked, Liara kept her eyes on Ethan, studying him in silence. She wanted to speak, to ask how he had survived, how he had come here after so many years, but the words did not come. Instead, she relied on her instincts, guiding him through hidden passages and corridors that most citizens did not even know existed. Finally, They reached a quiet garden atop one of the highest towers. The garden was alive with glowing plants and soft streams of water that reflected the colors of the sky. Liara gestured for Ethan to sit. He did, careful not to touch anything too fragile. "This place is beautiful," Ethan said, his eyes wide as he looked around. "It is my sanctuary," Liara replied softly. "Few are allowed here." She studied him, her violet eyes searching his face. "You saved me once." Ethan froze, surprised. I remember you?" he asked. Liara shook her head. "No, I remember you. Many years ago, when I was a child, a human saved me from danger. I never forgot it. And now—" Her voice trailed off as she searched for the right words. "You are here again." Ethan's mind raced. He had been trained for diplomacy, for survival, but this was unexpected. To be recognized, to be remembered after all these years, was beyond anything he had prepared for. "I did what anyone would have done," he said quietly. "I did not expect to be remembered." Liara's gaze softened. "Humans are remarkable in ways many of my people cannot understand. You face danger without hesitation, without fear. That courage, it remains with you." They sat in silence for a while. The only sounds the gentle hum of the city and the soft trickle of water. Ethan felt a strange sense of calm, as if the weight of the world had lifted slightly. He had faced many dangers, but here, with the princess who remembered him, he felt something new. Trust. Suddenly, a distant sound broke the moment. Alarms from the city below echoed up to the garden. Liara's expression hardened instantly, her instincts sharp and precise. "Trouble," she said. "We must move." Ethan stood beside her, ready. "What kind of trouble?" "Rebels," she said grimly. "They attack when the city is distracted. If we are caught outside the palace walls, you will be in grave danger." Without hesitation, Ethan followed her as they navigated through hidden paths, moving swiftly and silently. Liara was impressed by his agility and focus. Humans were fragile compared to her people, but his mind worked like a weapon. Quick, adaptable, unpredictable. They reached a concealed exit, and Liara paused to assess their surroundings. Shadows flickered in the distance, shapes moving with intent. Ethan's hand went instinctively to the small device at his belt, ready for anything. "Stay close," Liara instructed. "Do not act without my command." Ethan nodded, trusting her. He had survived countless dangers before, but there was something different here. This was not just about survival. This was about connection, about trust, about the bond formed years ago and rekindled in this very moment. As they moved through the garden and descended into hidden tunnels, Liara's thoughts wandered. She remembered the fear she had felt as a child, trapped and powerless, and she remembered the human who had saved her, without expecting anything in return. That courage, that selflessness had remained a beacon in her memory. And now, seeing him again, she felt a glimmer of hope. A hope that humans and her people could bridge the divide between worlds. Hours later, they emerged in a quiet sector of the city, far from the chaos. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the cool night air on his skin. The city lights shimmered like 1,000 stars reflected on glass. He looked at Liara, whose expression was a mixture of relief and concern. "You have changed," she said softly. "And yet, you are still the same." Ethan smiled faintly. "I suppose some things never change." Liara nodded, her mind racing with plans and possibilities. "We must be careful," she said. "The city is not safe, and your presence may bring more attention than you realize, but for now you are safe with me." Ethan's eyes met hers, and in that moment a silent understanding passed between them. They were from different worlds, different species, but the thread of trust and courage connected them across time and space, and that thread, fragile yet unbreakable, would guide them through the dangers to come. As the night deepened, they settled in the quiet of the hidden sector, each lost in their thoughts. Liara reflected on the past and the future, on the human who had saved her and the human who stood beside her now. Ethan, for his part, contemplated the strange twists of fate that had brought him here, to an alien world and to the princess who remembered him. Somewhere in the city, the hum of energy continued, indifferent to the dramas unfolding in its streets. But in the hidden corners, a bond was forming, one that would defy expectations, challenge dangers, and remind both human and alien alike of the strength, courage, and heart of a single human who had once made a difference, And so, under the glowing lights of Velith, the human and the alien princess prepared for the journey ahead, unaware of how the past would shape the future, and how the courage of one human could ignite hope in a world that had long forgotten it. The night air was thick with tension as Ethan and Princess Liara navigated the hidden streets of the city. Shadows danced across the walls of alien buildings, their strange architecture reflecting the pale light of floating lanterns. The distant hum of vehicles and the occasional alarm reminded them that danger was never far away. The rebels had struck quickly, but Liara's knowledge of secret pathways had kept them one step ahead. For now. Ethan moved carefully beside her, his senses alert. His human instincts were sharper than ever. He noted the faint vibrations in the ground, the slight movement of energy currents in the air, and the sounds of distant voices. Humans were not as fast or as strong as Liara's people, but they had an advantage: unpredictability. He could think in ways aliens might not anticipate. Liara paused at a narrow alley, her violet eyes scanning the surroundings. "We must cross through the eastern sector. The rebels expect us in the central zones," she said. "The paths are safer, though the terrain is unfamiliar to you." Ethan nodded. "Lead the way." As they moved, Liara could not help but study Ethan more closely. He carried himself with quiet confidence, alert but not afraid. She realized that what had saved her as a child was not just his strength but his mind. He analyzed, adapted, and acted with precision. It was rare to see such clarity under pressure, and it reminded her why she had trusted him all those years ago. Suddenly, a low sound echoed from behind them, a metallic scraping, faint but deliberate. Ethan's hand went instinctively to the small weapon at his belt. Liara raised her hand, signaling him to wait. The air seemed to thrum with tension as a group of rebels appeared at the end of the alley, cloaked in dark garments, their weapons glowing with an eerie light. "They are faster than I expected," Liara whispered. Ethan studied the group carefully. "We can use the side corridor. It leads to a platform above them." "I can cover the move," Liara nodded, impressed. Humans often relied on intuition in ways that could surprise even the most experienced alien strategist. Together they moved swiftly, ducking into the side corridor. Ethan's hands were steady, guiding Liara through narrow passageways and over floating bridges. The rebels shouted behind them, their voices angry and demanding. When they reached a vantage point above the alley, Ethan looked down. "We have the advantage here," he said. "From this height I can distract them. You move forward while they're focused on me." Liara raised an eyebrow. "You are sure?" Ethan smiled faintly. "Trust me." With a swift motion, he activated a device from his belt that sent a pulse of light across the alley, blinding the rebels momentarily. Their glowing weapons flickered and confusion spread through their ranks. Taking advantage of the chaos, Liara leaped down and sprinted toward the exit, her form graceful and precise. Ethan followed, covering her retreat with quick, calculated actions. By the time the rebels recovered, the two were gone, leaving only shadows and the fading pulse of light behind. Liara slowed her pace, catching her breath. "You are remarkable," she said softly. "Humans are more than I expected." Ethan shrugged, a modest smile on his face. "I do what I must." They continued through hidden passages until they reached a quiet area near the palace outskirts. Liara motioned for Ethan to sit. "We cannot return to the city openly yet. The rebels will search everywhere." Ethan nodded. "Then we plan. We find a way to secure the city and stop them before more people are harmed." Liara studied him, realizing the depth of his courage. He was not a trained soldier in the traditional sense, yet his mind was a weapon, sharp and precise. "You were a child when you saved me," she said quietly. "And now you are here again. I see why I remembered you." Ethan looked at her, sensing the weight of her words. "I never forgot either," he said. "That day shaped me. I learned what courage truly meant, and I carried it with me." Liara felt a warmth in her chest, a mixture of admiration, trust, and something she could not name. "Then we fight together," she said. "Not as alien and human, but as allies." The next morning they moved at first light, using secret paths to enter the city once more. The streets were quiet, deceptively calm. Ethan could feel the tension in the air, the sense that something was about to erupt. As they reached the city center, the rebels launched their attack. Explosions shook the streets and energy beams streaked across the sky. Civilians ran in panic while palace guards tried to contain the chaos. Liara's instincts kicked in. She moved with precision, guiding civilians to safety while deflecting attacks with controlled energy pulses. Ethan stayed close, analyzing the battlefield, directing guards and using his human intuition to spot weaknesses in the rebel strategy. Together, they formed an unspoken team. Liara marveled at how seamlessly Ethan adapted. He was a human, yet his actions were decisive, bold, and effective. He predicted moves, made split-second decisions, and inspired those around him. Guards who had been skeptical of humans now looked to him with newfound respect. During a critical moment, rebels surrounded a group of civilians trapped near a collapsing structure. Liara prepared to leap in, but Ethan intervened. "Wait, there's a better way," he said, scanning the area. He spotted a narrow passage that the rebels had not guarded. "We go through here." "I'll draw their attention," Liara nodded. Ethan activated a small device that emitted a pulse of energy, blinding the rebels temporarily. He ran across the open street, drawing fire and attention. Liara used the moment to lead the civilians through the safe passage, her movements swift and controlled. When she returned, Ethan was waiting, unharmed, his plan executed perfectly. "You never cease to amaze me," Liara said, breathing heavily. Ethan smiled faintly. "It's what humans do. We adapt, we survive. We protect those who cannot protect themselves." Hours passed and the battle raged. Together, Liara and Ethan led the defense, coordinating guards, rescuing civilians, and outmaneuvering the rebels. By evening, the attackers were finally driven back. The city was battered, but lives were saved, and the palace remained secure. As the sun set, Liara and Ethan stood on a platform overlooking the city. The streets below were filled with citizens slowly returning, and the floating lights of Velith shimmered in the twilight. Liara looked at Ethan, her violet eyes softening. "You are more than a human," she said. "You are a force for hope. Courage, intelligence, heart, all in one." Ethan shook his head with a faint smile. "I am just a human. But your people, they are remarkable too. You showed me trust, and together we made a difference." Liara considered his words. Humans were unpredictable, fragile yet capable of astonishing courage. They could change the course of events with their determination, their quick thinking, and their heart. She realized then that this human, the one who had saved her as a child, had always carried that same strength. It was no surprise that fate had brought him back. Ethan looked around the city, taking in the destruction and the resilience of its people. "This is only the beginning," he said quietly. "There will be challenges ahead, but if we work together," Liara nodded, "then humans and aliens can face any danger. We can build something stronger than fear, stronger than war. We can show the world what courage truly means." The night deepened, but in that quiet moment, trust was forged. Across species, across worlds, a bond had been rebuilt, not just between a human and an alien princess, but between two hearts committed to courage, justice, and hope. In the days that followed, Velith slowly returned to normal. Civilians praised the bravery of their leaders and the unexpected heroism of the human who had once saved a princess. Whispers of admiration spread through the city, tales of courage that reminded everyone that heroism could come from any place, any species, any soul willing to act when it mattered most. Liara and Ethan continued to work together, planning for a future where humans and aliens could cooperate, where courage and heart were valued above fear and suspicion. They trained, strategized, and built alliances, knowing that challenges would come again. Yet in every plan and every action, they carried the memory of what had happened that night, the trust, the courage, and the bond that had saved lives and forged a new path for their worlds. And in that bond, Liara realized something deeper. Humans were not just capable of surviving, they were capable of inspiring hope, of reminding others of the strength within themselves, and of changing the course of history with nothing but determination, intelligence, and heart. Ethan, standing beside her, was living proof. As the first light of dawn touched the city, Liara felt a quiet confidence. The past had brought them together, the present had tested them, and the future was full of possibilities. Together, they would face it all, not as alien and human, but as allies, as friends, and as champions of courage. And somewhere deep inside, Liara knew that this human, who had once saved her life as a child, would continue to leave an indelible mark, not just on her memory, but on the history of her world. In that quiet morning, With the city alive around them and the promise of hope in the air, Liara and Ethan prepared for whatever lay ahead, ready to prove that courage, heart, and trust could transcend worlds and that sometimes one human could indeed change the fate of many.